friends, we're back. We're Black and Curious. I'm Kandrin.
What up? What up? It is Deja. How y'all doing?
Hello. If you've never been here before, welcome. We do a cross-section of pop culture in real life. All right, so Jay-Z is getting on my nerves. Um, this hurts my heart as a former very big Jay-Z fan. Everybody knows, all the people in my life know that I used to be a very, very big Jay-Z fan, and he is just a disappointment. So essentially,
Yikes.
he's a disappointment, honestly. So basically, all right, I'm going to read it. It's Jay-Z's Roc Nation. On Friday, the organization announced plans for an educational campaign for Philadelphia that will secure about $300 million in scholarships for kids in grades K through 12 from low-income households so that they can attend one of the city's array of private schools. And it pissed me off. Jay-Z gives me tech bro. He gives me one of those like white tech founders who comes in and just starts doing a bunch of shit. He doesn't ask anyone if that's the right thing to do. He thinks having money is makes him all knowing, and it does not. This is the wrong thing to do. And I'm going to tell you why. So the money, first of all, is not a donation from Roc Nation. It is an allocation of taxpayer dollars from the city of Philadelphia, which honestly would be better spent on public school education if they were to just give the money to the public schools so that it can serve more children than cherry picking the best ones and leaving everybody else to drown.
Hmm. I have not heard about this.
Um, also, this partnership is with Republican lawmakers. These are Republicans because they are the ones that champion from the Department of Education, Betsy DeVos, from the Trump administration, those girlies. They're the ones that are always talking about voucher programs and school choice.
What is school choice?
School choice is the thing that they say for vouchers. So for kids having to get vouchers and being able to choose what schools they want to go to. But the result of that often is the defunding of public schools, which is supposed to be the public good for everyone. Because there's less students in those public schools, so they're getting less funds, less teachers, less resources, less everything. So school choice is kind of the nice shiny way they use to say these voucher programs and that kind of stuff.
Got it.
So this is backed by a bunch of Republican politicians in Philly or in Pennsylvania. I don't know if it's Philadelphia or Pennsylvania at large. But anyways, part of the people that he's working with for this initiative are people that are speculated to be in a Trump cabinet should he get elected. Mm-hmm. And this is back to the conversation. I know not many people watch it, but that's okay. We're going to talk about it again. That goes back to the conversation we were talking about Project 2025, which is to take over everything government, which includes the Department of Education, and make everything about school choice and funneling all of these taxpayer dollars via vouchers to these private white schools that are not serving a large group of children, who are serving cherry-picked children and leaving everyone else behind.
So here's what I will say as it relates to this leaving people behind, leaving children behind specifically. The way that our education system is set up as it stands, the No Child Left Behind BS that came out 20 plus years ago, maybe 30 years ago, because we were in that's where I'm going.
Yeah.
The way that they set that up and they rolled it out over the last, because I want to say that had to been maybe 30 years, because we were in high school when they started that No Child Left Behind bullshit.
And some of our classmates were left behind. And
because of that piece of legislation, our education system in America is ripped to shreds. It is bad. There are so many, on TikTok, there was, I forget her name, the creator's name, but she is a former principal, and prior to that, she was a teacher. and she was speaking about how there are so many illiterate children in our schools, and
Yeah, I
they are
saw
just
that.
getting passed on to the next grade,
I saw
despite the fact that they cannot pass the, like in the state of Virginia, we have something called SOLs, which are like standards of learning, right? The state test to indicate that this child is educated enough to go on to the next level. They're ready to proceed, right? The whole purpose of, because I feel like the SOL started when we were in high school in this state.
They did.
Those were we were doing the precursors. So the SOLs that they take now are totally different, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, and they should be, 20 plus 30 years ago, right? Those tests, those standardized tests that they take now, the point of them was to improve the education level at every grade to make sure that the children were matriculating from point A to point Z, that nothing was missed.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The problem that we have now is that while the idea is that no child is left behind, because they wanted to be all inclusive, to include special needs children and special education and all that. Not saying any of that shit is wrong, but the problem that we have now is that because they decided to do all of this, now they just pass the kids on because they don't have the resources to educate the children or catch the children up that have been fucking forgotten.
Yeah. But I guess
as it relates
to this is, and to that end, and like a lot of the commentary that I've read, because obviously I've read more commentary. I'm not in the education space, so I don't know. But it's like, it seems like that $300 million of taxpayer money, it would be better served to like serve one school or two schools versus getting funneled
or floated through the damn district of Philadelphia.
Correct. Rather than being funneled into these white private schools.
Agreed.
Like,
I can't say, because I didn't read this article in its entirety, so I will read this and we might be able to follow back up. I know that in Philadelphia, kind of like most major cities, they have like charter schools that also receive public funding. Mm-hmm. And so what I'm assuming the idea is that to funnel more money into these charter schools, because charter schools are not necessarily private institutes. They are funded through donation and government funding. It's a combination of the two, right? So I get if your intention is to pour more money into those charter schools, because charter schools don't get the same amount of money that the public school systems do. They have to basically, kind of like if you are a nonprofit organization and you're receiving money from the government, you have to file for that every year.
Right.
And that those monies can be cut. So if that is what the intention is, to like improve those schools and not necessarily the Republican regime to like improve their environments and leave everybody else to be damned, like, okay, fine. But it don't sound like that's what's happening.
Mm-mm. No. And also, I take great issue with this like exceptionalism, and like, I will say, okay,
talented 10.
Yeah. One of the things I like a few years ago, one of the speakers at Morehouse's commencement forgave the student loan debts of all of
that graduating class. Byron something.
Yes. I forget his last name. I think you're right. It's Byron
Sorry,
something.
Y'all.
But what delighted me the most about that is for the C students, because the A students, they're going to get scholarships. They're going to get the money to go to law school. They're going to get the money to do this and that and the other. But the BC students, they're going to be able to do whatever is next in their life. These people, not even just the B and C students, even the A students, people are going to be able to go into public service because they're not going to be saddled with debt and be able to do the life that they want. And I don't think that should be reserved for students who are getting a 5.0 grade point average, or who are getting whatever. Like, I feel like strongly, and granted, like I was a better than decent student. I was a good student, but not a great student. I was like I was an AB student. I could have been a straight A student, but I didn't care that much. So like I did AB with no effort.
Decent.
I did an AB with no effort, right? But still, I didn't have enough to get like all of these exceptional opportunities. But I was still a good student and I was still a smart person. And I take exception with the fact that it's always the top people who are just like cherry pick. Like for me, I always said like if I had a scholarship, I would give scholarships to kids that made C's. Like there's enough kids who are getting privilege from getting A's and B's, and that's wonderful. They deserved it, they earned it, they worked for it. But I think there's a lot of knowledge and resource and just grit and wherewithal in those BC students that often gets missed in opportunities like this that you know what I mean? I feel strongly about that. So I just take issue with like this whole like idea of like, oh, exception, everything has to be like, oh, exceptional. And I'm just like, does it? Does it? It's like in law school, I forget what the exact saying is, but like it's like the C students that end up going on to make a million, like to be millionaires and billionaires. You know what I mean? It's the AB students, they take the path, they do big law, they may have a nice life, but it's the B and C students that innovate. And
right.
You
they
know,
get creative.
They get creative, and I kind of like the idea of everybody benefiting, and this is another example. And then also just like who is on his team, because I just feel like Jay-Z does not have anybody on his team that is vetting these things that he's slapping his name upon to be like, girl, maybe not this one, maybe this is the bad company, or maybe he doesn't care. He doesn't care. Maybe he doesn't care. He did say in one of his songs, I can't help the poor if I'm one of them, so I get rich and give back. To me, that's the win-win. So maybe that's how he feels.
Yeah, but like how do you give back to these communities that you want to give back to when they're gonna cut you off at the knees?
Yeah. It's harmful.
Because they're gonna welcome you into the fold so that they can get your dollars, and then they're gonna do what they want to do. Or they're gonna welcome you into the fold so they can use your name and your likeness and say, oh, Jay-Z's down with us, and then they're gonna still do what they want to do.
NFL. He did this with the NFL. After Colin Kaepernick lost his career behind kneeling, here comes Jay-Z like, oh, we'll play your Super Bowls. Pay us. That's how we get it. I'm black. And I'm just like, he's so disappointing.
Incredibly smart man, not necessarily making the smart decisions. And
no,
maybe it's a thing of advisement that's not helping him out right now.
It just gives me white tech bro, and like you think that you're doing something good and actually what you're doing is harmful. It's not just not good, it's actually harmful. Even like with him doing he was doing taking crypto classes or something, cryptocurrency to Marcy projects.
You work a federal job and you live in the projects. A lot of people, like my family comes from that environment, right? I'm from New Jersey. And we were all raised to go and get a federal job, and you'll have that job forever. Like a lot of my elders had those jobs. Same. So if you're telling them to invest their 401ks, their retirement funds, like break up that kind of stuff, okay, fine, because there's money to be pulled from those things. But if it's regular people that working at the bodega, they don't necessarily have these type of things set up. But it doesn't mean that they do not deserve the right to have this knowledge brought to them.
I agree with you, and I agree with you that like everybody should have access to the knowledge, and I think there's step levels for a reason. And I don't think that bringing crypto is like a rich person sport. Like you have a bunch of money to lose on a bunch of shit that's highly speculative. Like you're talking to people that don't have money to lose on shit. And I'm not saying I'm not saying that people don't deserve the knowledge. But what I'm saying is that's not useful in the near term.
Correct.
So I don't understand the point of that.
Until next time. That's all, friends.
Bye.